At 26, the family that had abandoned me 16 years ago suddenly reappeared in my life. Their unexpected return stirred emotions I thought I had buried, leaving me questioning who I had become, as if I were a stranger to my own past. As the eldest daughter, I grew up in what seemed like a happy home. Alongside my two younger siblings, we cooked meals together, watched movies, and played games like any close-knit family. But everything changed when I was 9. My father lost his job under unfair circumstances, and with my mother struggling to support us on her school salary, they made a decision that altered my life forever. They sent me to live with my grandparents, assuring me it was only temporary. At first, I embraced the change, spending my summer on my grandparents' farm, caring for animals and enjoying the countryside. But when school was about to start again, my parents told me they were still sorting things out and that I should stay a little longer. A few extra days turned into weeks, then months. Every call I made went unanswered. Every promise they gave me was empty. No explanation, no goodbye, just silence. Desperate, I filed a missing persons report, hoping someone, anyone, would help me find them. My grandparents dismissed it as childish drama, grounding me instead. Realizing I had no one else to rely on, I pleaded for an education, and they begrudgingly enrolled me in a local public school. I struggled at first, but I forced myself to adapt, determined to carve out a future for myself. Then, one evening, everything changed. I overheard my grandmother on the phone, speaking in hushed tones. It was my mother. She was alive. The revelation sent a jolt of emotion through me. Without thinking, I called out to her. The second my voice reached the receiver, silence fell. My heart pounded as I pleaded, screamed, and shook the phone as if that could bring her back. My grandmother stormed into the room and ordered me away, her face a mask of frustration. I snapped. I demanded answers. Why had they hidden my mother from me? Why had they lied? But no matter how much I begged, she refused to say a word. That night, I realized the truth. My parents had abandoned me, and my grandparents had chosen to keep me in the dark. Shortly after that phone call, my grandparents sent me to live with a distant aunt, a 5-hour drive from their farm. I never understood why, and no one ever explained. My aunt, my mother's cousin, was nothing like them. She welcomed me with open arms and, when I asked about my parents, admitted she had no answers. But I believed her. Unlike the others, she never dismissed my pain or ignored my questions. From the moment I moved in at 13, she became my anchor. She encouraged me to seek therapy, something I initially resisted but later came to appreciate. She validated my emotions, something no one else had done. She gave me the love and support I had spent years yearning for. By the time I finished high school, my aunt was more than just family. She was my true parent. At 21, I asked her to adopt me, making it official. With her unwavering support, I pursued veterinary medicine, following in her footsteps. Now, at 26, I work as an intern at a hospital, living independently in my own apartment. Life had finally started to feel stable. Then, 2 days ago, everything came crashing down. On my day off, the doorbell rang. Expecting a delivery, I opened the door and froze. Standing before me were the people I had once called family, my mother, father, and youngest brother. They looked both familiar and foreign, ghosts from a past I had long since left behind. Without a word, they handed me an envelope. Inside was a letter from my grandparents. According to them, I had run away all those years ago, cutting ties with the family and causing them immeasurable grief. Now, they demanded that I pay for my brother's education, citing my success as a doctor. If I refused, they threatened legal action. I stared at the letter, my mind reeling. How could they twist the truth so easily? I hadn't run away, I had been sent away. And now, after 16 years of silence, they expected me to shoulder a responsibility I never agreed to? The injustice burned through me. I looked up at the people who had once been my parents and saw nothing but strangers. I owed them nothing. With a steady voice, I told them no. When they persisted, I held my ground. And when they refused to leave, I shut the door in their faces. Because after 16 years, I finally understood something. I wasn't their daughter anymore. Story 1. My family tried to re-enter my life for money. When my so-called family showed up at my door after 16 years of abandonment, I didn't hesitate. I called the cops. They insisted they were my parents, but I stood my ground. Legally, I was my aunt's daughter, and I provided her name as proof. When the authorities contacted her, she confirmed my status, leading to my family receiving a stern warning for trespassing and harassment. Since that day, My social media has been flooded with hateful messages from accounts belonging to my family, calling me heartless. I confided in my aunt, and while she understood why I acted the way I did, she gently questioned whether it was the right decision. As if the situation wasn't already overwhelming, my parents later showed up at my workplace, causing a scene. Security had to intervene, calling the police to remove them. I couldn't comprehend their sudden desire to be in my life. The weight of their reappearance hung heavy on me. My therapist suggested I talk to them, but I refused. Why should I entertain people who had discarded me without a second thought? Eventually, I agreed to meet them, only because my aunt would be there. Their explanation was as pathetic as it was infuriating. They admitted that sending me to my grandparents was a financial decision. One less mouth to feed, they said, and when things got better, they simply couldn't afford to bring me back. Now, years later, with their savings gone, they wanted me to support them and pay for my brother's education. They even admitted to fabricating the legal threats in a desperate attempt to guilt me. Every word shattered whatever lingering hope I had left, but I didn't waver. I reminded them that I was legally detached from them and warned that if they ever showed up at my home or workplace again, I wouldn't hesitate to take legal action. They begged for forgiveness, but I walked away, my heart resolute. My therapist later suggested that I might be struggling with empathy, but the truth is, I feel nothing for them. If I could erase them from my memory, I would. Since then, they've stopped reaching out. Meanwhile, I've completed my internship and am considering another residency before sitting for the NOVLE. My future looks bright, and though I sometimes wish things had been different with my parents, I have no regrets. My aunt is the only mother I need. She's 1,000 times better than the one I was born to. They abandoned me, lied to me, and left me behind. Now, I'm simply returning the favor. I owe them nothing. Story 2, My sister-in-law's baby shower betrayal. My sister-in-law and I have never gotten along. At 29, I had hoped she had matured enough to let go of our differences, but I was wrong. Our tension started when I began dating my husband. We met while he was helping her move, and after hitting it off at a local bar, we quickly became inseparable. She was never outright hostile, but she made subtle jabs, once warning me that her brother never took relationships seriously. I braced myself for heartbreak, but 6 years later, we're happily married. Unlike her, the rest of my in-laws have been nothing but kind, yet, for reasons unknown, she has always harbored resentment toward me. Her pettiness escalated 2 years ago during our wedding. I didn't want her as a bridesmaid because of her cold, condescending attitude, but she threw a tantrum, manipulating my husband into convincing me otherwise. To avoid drama, I caved. It was a mistake. She arrived in a white floral dress, drawing outrage from my in-laws, who forced her to change under the threat of being cut off from family events. She later apologized, and I foolishly thought she had changed. Then I got pregnant, and her true colors resurfaced. While everyone else celebrated our pregnancy, she found ways to make it about herself. At our announcement, she hijacked the conversation, lamenting her struggles as a single mother and implying that I was lucky. I ignored it, but deep down, I knew she hadn't changed. Then, she offered to host my baby shower. I was touched, until she insisted the event be held 12,000 miles away. She claimed it was a surprise venue owned by a friend and that we wouldn't have to pay a dime. Something felt off. When I voiced my concerns to my husband, he assured me I was overthinking it. Trusting him, we rescheduled important commitments and flew there with my parents, while my in-laws, unfortunately, couldn't attend. The moment we arrived at the lavish resort, my stomach dropped. The decorations were pink and blue, but the faces around me were unfamiliar. Then I saw her. A pregnant woman, wearing the exact white dress my sister-in-law had gifted me. Realization struck. She had tricked me into attending someone else's baby shower. I wasn't the guest of honor, I was just an extra in her friend's celebration. Humiliated and furious, I left in tears, devastated that she would go this far just to put me in my place. My sister-in-law's baby shower meltdown. I understood the situation clearly. My husband wasted no time confronting his sister, but she immediately tried to deflect blame, making excuses and playing the victim. He informed his parents, who were just as shocked and furious. Their response was swift. For years, they had been financially supporting her, helping her maintain her boutique and cover her expenses, but after this stunt, they decided they had had enough. They withdrew all financial aid and told her she needed to stand on her own 2 feet. They even warned her not to show up at their home until she learned to take responsibility for her actions. Predictably, she blamed me. She painted herself as a struggling single mother, claiming I had turned her parents against her. But I never asked them to do anything, this was entirely her own doing. Despite her guilt-tripping attempts, I felt no sympathy. Actions have consequences, and she was finally facing hers. To be clear, she's far from destitute. She won't be left penniless or unable to care for her son, she just has to adjust her lifestyle and figure out how to run her boutique without her parents' constant financial safety net. If my in-laws truly believed their grandchild was in danger, they would step in. While they might not fund her boutique anymore, I have no doubt they'll help her with basic needs once she stops lashing out and takes accountability. As for my husband, he stood firmly by my side. He apologized for not stepping in sooner and reassured me that I never had to forgive her or let her back into my life. To make up for the disaster his sister caused, my kind mother-in-law planned a real baby shower for me, one that would be about celebrating our child, free from drama. I was finally looking forward to a joyful, peaceful gathering. The uninvited guest, but, of course, my sister-in-law couldn't leave well enough alone. On the day of my baby shower, everything was perfect. My mother-in-law had transformed her backyard into a beautiful, cozy space. Friends and family surrounded us, delicious food and drinks flowed, and we were happily opening gifts. Then she arrived. Having found out about the party through social media, my sister-in-law stormed in, completely uninvited, and launched into a screaming tirade. She ranted about how unfair it was that her parents had cut her off financially yet had no issue throwing a lavish party for me. She called me undeserving of their love and support, fuming that I was being treated like the golden child while she struggled. The moment was surreal. Guests watched in stunned silence, some whispering in disbelief, but my mother-in-law had had enough. Without hesitation, she marched over, grabbed her daughter by the arm, and dragged her out of the garden. Apologizing profusely to our guests, she assured everyone that her daughter's behavior was unacceptable. After the event, my in-laws apologized repeatedly, even suggesting that I get a restraining order against her. While I'm hesitant to take that step, we've agreed to keep all baby-related updates off social media to prevent her from stalking us. It's absurd that she managed to ruin not just one, but 2 baby showers with her antics. A history of resentment. A part of me wonders if her behavior stems from deeper wounds. My in-laws weren't initially supportive of her pregnancy because she had her child out of wedlock, which clashed with their traditional values, though they eventually came around. I suspect she never fully forgave them. Maybe she sees my pregnancy as receiving the unconditional love and acceptance she wished she had. But even if that's the case, her jealousy doesn't justify her behavior. Since the baby shower fiasco, I haven't heard from her. My in-laws have made it clear they intend to cut her off permanently after her public meltdown. And honestly, I don't care anymore. I refuse to let her take up space in my mind. I'm done letting her drama overshadow my happiness. She didn't just humiliate me, she humiliated herself, and in doing so, she proved to everyone exactly who she is, a selfish, entitled, and deeply immature person. I'm moving forward with my life, focused on my baby, my husband, and the loving family that truly supports us. As far as I'm concerned, she no longer exists in my world. I won't waste another thought on her.